So I, work with your dad. I work with other people on issues where we can come together. That's what I think American politics is supposed to be about.
So that was Senator Bernie Sanders explaining to what appears to be a very salty Meghan McCain how bipartisanship is actually supposed to work. Now, this is a discussion on the current, presidential race as well as Donald Trump. So now, I love this. Why would Meghan McCain be salty? Well, because here's a guy who's incredibly progressive saying Republicans and Democrats can find common ground and we can work with each other to get things done. Now, why would that upset Meghan McCain? Well, because it flies in the face of establishment Republicans who believe that the only kind of bipartisanship is when Democrats agree with the Republican conservative position. Now, it also goes against the argument, by the way, that Bernie has no friends in Congress, that he can't get anything done, that he's incapable of actually being able to reach out to people across the aisle because he's too radical and he's off in his own world. Now, those assertions are totally untrue, totally unfounded, and also a favored talking point to people on both the centrist, the Democratic side, as well as the Republican side, use against him. So now, of course, Meghan McCain is kind of going to bring that up a little bit and ask that question. And here's sort of your full video in context. Take a look.
And it gives me no pleasure to say this. It really does not, because I have conservative friends who I like and respect. But Trump
Can I hear any in Congress or the Senate? I'm generally curious about bipartisanship. Can you name one?
Johnny Isakson of Georgia, who's recently retired.
I was like, he's retired.
Johnny is your dad was somebody I work with.
But they're dead and now not. It's
Johnny is
anymore.
not dead.
I know, but he's not. He's leaving. He's
leaving.
retiring.
They resign. They retire.
Yeah.
Look, even somebody like a George W. Bush, who was a very conservative
anyone
guy.
in office that if you were president, that you would work with on the other side.
Lamar Alexander.
Okay.
All right. Lamar is head of the committee that I'm on, the Health Education Labor Committee. Lamar is a conservative Republican. Lamar is not a liar. Lamar is not a sexist. He's not a racist. He's not a homophobe. He's a conservative guy. It's called American politics. So I, work with your dad. I work with other people on issues where we can come together. That's what I think American politics is supposed to be about. But you have a president today, and again, it gives me no joy to say this. He is a pathological liar.
Yeah.
And when people ask me, what do you think about what Trump said 5 minutes ago in a tweet? I say, I'm not going to say anything because 10 minutes from now he's going to change his view. I can't comment. This is not the kind of temperament or personality that we should have in the White House, in my view.
Absolutely.
All right, so one thing about Bernie Sanders, he's really nice. And he's also incredibly diplomatic. But the thing is that there's this caricature of Sanders on both the supposed left, more centrist establishment left, and the establishment right. It's of somebody who is so far gone that he can't get anything done, that nobody's going to work with him, that he's too angry and too obstinate, and that he's totally unhinged. No, in reality, he's actually the amendment king. Now, let me show you where he got that name from. Back in 2005, Rolling Stone gave him that nickname when he was in the House. Now, at the time, that title came with the qualification of having amendments agreed to by record votes. Out of 419 amendments Senator Sanders sponsored over 25 years, 90% of them passed, and 21 of them got passed through roll call votes. Now, 425 versus 90. Now, you might think, wait, those are terrible numbers. But in reality, look, our system is set up in such a way that it's actually very difficult to get things passed. That's kind of the whole point, is to make sure that that these bills are incredibly deliberated so that we don't pass anything super quickly, right? It's made that way on purpose. So in our Congress, that's actually not bad at all. Getting those 90 of them passed over 25 years. Now you might say, look, yeah, but okay, so he's passed some amendments, and he's actually considered to be number 4 on the amount of amendments passed throughout his entire career when you look at Congress. Again, number 4, not bad. Now, you can look at how many bills he's passed, right? So he's put over 300 something bills. He's introduced, I should say, over 300 and something bills, right? I think it's 324, 325. Out of all of those bills, only about 3 passed. Now, 2 of them named post offices, right? So now you could look at that and be like, look, he can't get anything passed. He can't get anything passed. He can only pass post office changes. Okay, but one of the things he did get passed involved increasing disability compensation for veterans. So increasing the amount of money that veterans get through disability claims. Veterans like, I don't know, John McCain, who just happens to be Meghan McCain's dad, as she always tends to remind us. So, okay. Now, to give it context, look at Hillary Clinton. When she was in Congress, she passed about 3 bills, in about 10 years. So there's that. It's a very deliberative process. And look, Bernie Sanders, the whole idea that he can't do bipartisanship, not accurate. Now, that said, his ideas for a long time have actually been to the left of what was mainstream in Washington. Now, that's really important to think about, right? Because Washington is not the same as the rest of the United States. In Washington, they're deeply conservative, and they think the rest of the country is deeply conservative, and they all agree with the Republican position. As we've seen the polling for Medicare for all, free college, a $15 minimum wage, that is not accurate at all. And you can just look at the polls. You can look at all the different polls. For a time, you even had a majority of Republicans saying that they would rather have a single-payer government-sponsored insurance system. That's important. So now, again, his ideas are to the left of mainstream Washington. So a lot of his bills probably didn't do well because of that fact. Not only that, but Bernie Sanders often would not put his name on pieces of legislation to help it pass through. So I don't have an exact number on the times that he has done that he has left his name off of pieces of legislation that he has worked on to allow a Republican to pass it, or to allow a different Democrat to be able to get the credit and pass it, because that's who Bernie Sanders is. So now what's interesting now is that his ideas have gotten a lot more popular, right? And since then, you've seen Democrats supporting these policies, Democratic politicians. A lot of people have signed on to his Medicare for All bill. And so that has Republicans like Meghan McCain not very happy. Because, look, and also you have establishment Democrats that are also really not happy about this as well, because bipartisanship in Washington has long been defined as basically agreeing with the Republican position. Democrats, over the last, 25, 30 years, have ceded so much ground to the Republicans. Now, one of it was fear because of, people like Jimmy Carter and Jim McGovern, right? You also had the anti-communism, anti-socialism stuff, the Red Scare, right? You also had corporate control of the media narrative. You also had an increased influx of money in politics from some of these Supreme Court decisions, Bilotti versus First Bank, and others like that, for Citizens United. And so all these different factors have either both scared and rewarded Democrats for ceding the narrative to the right wing. So that's a little bit of a history of why Bernie's ideas are not popular in Washington, despite being popular through a large chunk of the United States. So getting back to Meghan McCain, even though she's literally looking at a senator who has worked with her father to do good things for veterans, wouldn't understand bipartisanship if it was literally sitting in front of her, and it was. And maybe, just maybe, her wanting to be right and not being right is why she might be so salty. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc. We're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.